Solve the riddle while we sit and watch. Written by Gingers_ha. Read by The Viridian Ghost. Chapter 2. Coincidence? I think not. Sam. Peter grabbed his phone, placing it in his pockets as he threw on a gray hoodie and laced up his Converse trainers. His jeans pulling the look together in a casual manner, he took a look in the mirror, realizing just how messy his hair was. Annoyed, Peter combed his fingers through his brown locks in an attempt to redeem his fluffed-up fringe. He glanced over at the counter, spotting some of the money that Maid left behind, with a little post note saying, "Had to go to work uptown. Back on Sunday. XX." Peter smiled, taking the $30 from the small stack of cash and shoving into his pockets as he walked out the door. Peter walked to the supermarket, his AirPods in his ears, playing his ears with the song Teenage Dirtbag playing at a quiet enough volume for him to hear his surroundings. It was the first day of summer holidays, and since Peter had already completed all his schoolwork, he had nothing better to do than buy himself some lunch and walk to the Avengers Tower. He had been beyond relieved that Tony had opted not to sell the tower and to remain in central New York, only about half an hour walk away, instead of moving uptown. Peter grabbed himself a bacon wrap from the bakery section and picked up a bottle of Diet Pepsi from the fridge aisle. He walked up to the line, stood behind a tallish man in a similar outfit to what Steve frickin' Rogers had been wearing. "Oh darn, where's my wallet?" the man in front of him mumbled, reaching into his pockets frantically. Once again, Peter couldn't help but recognize the man's voice. "Oh my God, where is it?" the man continued to mumble, rummaging through his pockets. Peter, who had since muted his music, looking at what was the stranger trying to purchase, noticed that he had just enough money to pay for the both of them. The kid reached out, tapping the man on the shoulder as the stranger turned around. Peter looked down and reached into his pockets, pulling out $25 and looking back up to offer it to the man. "I can afford to pay for both of ours, I think, if you'd like." He trailed off, realizing what he had, once again, encountered somebody that he had fought in Berlin. Stood in front of him was Sam Wilson. Would you," Peter stuttered, making himself take a deep breath, deciding to act as he did whenever he was beneath the mask. The teen cleared his throat. "I can pay for the both of us, if you'd like," Peter offered, holding out the $20 bill and a $5 bill that sat in his right hand. Sam looked down, slightly surprised at the proposal. "Oh, don't worry, kid, it's fine," Sam declined, waving him off, not wanting to have to take money from a kid. "Don't be silly, really," Peter insisted, stepping around Sam to hand the cashier his money and plop down his items that Peter had selected. Despite the hero about to once again decline, Peter paid and handed him the plastic bag of items that Sam had chose. "You didn't need to do that. You should save your money," Sam mumbled, slightly embarrassed. "Yeah, well, it's nice to be nice." Peter shrugged, trying not to freak out over the fact that he was again encountering an Avenger for the second time in the past 2 days. Sam squinted for a moment before, for some reason, feeling as if he'd recognized the kid's voice somehow. "What's your name?" he asked, placing his hand into his jacket pocket. Peter sighed. These guys really liked asking for his name. "My name's Peter Parker. I already know who you are. Hi," he squeaked out in response, regretting saying anything more than his name within an instant. Sam chuckled, taking off his hat. "Guess my disguise wasn't as good as I thought," he admitted awkwardly, rubbing the back of his neck. Peter smiled, ignoring the fact that he and Sam had fought one another before. It wasn't like the Falcon knew that anyway. "You didn't have to pay for my stuff, you know. I can live without buying all this, he mentioned, gesturing towards the paper bag of belongings. Inside was a red apple, a 6 case of Pepsi Max, and some toothpaste, and a packet of bubble gum. Doesn't mean you can't have it. I live without Star Wars. I can live without Star Wars. Actually, I probably can't. Forget I said that. I can live without comic books, but it doesn't mean I don't have them, Peter countered. Well, thanks, Peter Parker. If I see you again, then I'll be sure to pay you back, Sam thanked, shaking hands with Peter, which had been rather unexpected of the man, and walked off. Half an hour later. Mr. Stark, oh my god, this is getting weird as hell. Guess who I ran into today? Peter sighed, walking into the lab and sitting down on his seat with the bacon wrap and Pepsi that he had bought. Steve? Again? Really? He uttered in disbelief, kicking Peter's chair slightly back to avoid potential spillage. Once Peter had stopped his chair from skidding across the floor, screeching it to a halt, he spun around wildly. Sam Bloody Wilson, Peter announced, only making Tony more shocked. So, are you telling me that you've run into 2 different Avengers in the span of 2 days? Jesus Christ, kid, you're like a magnet. First me, then Cap, now Wilson? You're gonna start collecting us like Pokemon now? The man said, surprised at the announcement. Peter shrugged, rolling his chair back over as he placed down his bottled drink before explaining how he managed to come across the hero this time. Do you think it's a coincidence? Peter asked, and rolled up his sleeve and placed his new prototype web shooters onto his wrists, filling them with new experimental fluid. Running into them, yeah? From what you've told me, they will be back in the tower in 2 days, so they are likely just all around. Do I think you'll run into others? Absolutely yes, Tony responded, clearly having thought it over within the few minutes it took for him to come up with a response. What about when they get paranoid? They'll surely see me in the tower, and especially since I'll be spending a lot more time here over the summer, plus May's working a lot more often. Peter followed up, starting to get a bit nervous at the idea of his identity being discovered by people that were recently fugitives of the law. Not to say that he didn't respect them, and knew fully well that none of them would intentionally reveal his identity, but still, the fear remained. Easy, we can just use the intern cover story. Or if you'd like, we can tell them that you're Spider-Man. It's not like they go around parading your identity everywhere, Tony answered quickly, having thought through all possible outcomes of the scenario. Well, since I've already met some of them and likely will encounter more, then we could just see how long it takes for them to figure it out, Peter suggested. Tony smiled, sitting back in his chair. All right, how about this? If you run into another one, then I'll have them here by tomorrow and we can do that, Tony negotiated, liking the idea of watching as his teammates slowly tried to connect the dots. I can't believe we're going to prank. Does this count as a prank? The Avengers, Peter excitedly emphasized, the idea being beyond his wildest dreams. No, I wouldn't say we are pranking them. More or less just experimenting with the truth for our own entertainment, Tony rephrased, appearing proud of himself. Nat. Peter walked down the street, holding on to his freshly packed rucksack as he tried to process what was happening. He, Peter Parker, would be spending the summer at the Avengers Tower, due to May getting an offer to work abroad in a rural town in a newly developing country. Tony had offered for Peter to stay with him for the summer. He dragged along his backpack and a little suitcase down the pavement, deciding to walk rather than get a lift. Sometimes it was nice just to be out in fresh air, and just to use his earphones to tune out the spinning world around him. Completely zoned out, Peter's body absent-mindedly dragged him down the route that led to the tower, so used to walking it that he could do the journey with his eyes closed. But as he floated off into the world of his music, Peter was dragged into reality by the feeling of a scalding hot liquid splashed against his stomach area. He winced, falling to the floor as he bumped into someone, apparently spilling their burning coffee all over him in the process. The person, a woman, knelt down straight away as she apologized and handed Peter some napkins to wipe it off. And, not to the kid's surprise, the lady just so happened to be Natasha Romanoff. "I'm so sorry for making you spill your coffee, ma'am," Peter apologized, using the napkins to dab away at the stains on his clothes. "No, I'm sorry. It was me who spilt the coffee all over you. I wasn't watching where I was walking," she said with a grimace at the brown stain on Peter's white shirt. "It's honestly fine. This shirt's old anyway," he insisted as he stood up, placing the dirty napkins in a nearby bin. "Let me repay you. Do you like Burger King? Natasha asked, tossing her empty coffee cup into the bin. Unsure of what she was building up to. Yeah, everyone does," he answered, confused. Natasha smiled, and before Peter knew what was happening, he was being dragged to the nearest Burger King with Black Widow. "Ma'am, this is really unneeded. Honestly, all you did was spill some coffee on me," Peter pleaded as Natasha pulled him into a queue. "Kid, chill. It's fine. Plus, I'm bored and I want some company," she assured him as she placed down an order for the two of them. "So, what's your name?" she asked, and the two of them sat down in a booth, waiting for their order to be called out. Peter, who was almost tempted to lie, hesitated for a moment before deciding that it would be smarter to be honest. She was a spy, after all. "I'm Peter Parker," he answered nervously, bouncing his leg up and down beneath the wooden table. "Peter Parker? Funny, two of my friends have ran into some dude called Peter Parker yesterday and the day before," Natasha divulged, before staring at him up and down. Peter, whose face had gone pink, sheepishly smiled at her. "No way. That was you? Geez, talk about a coincidence," she chuckled in disbelief, able to read his expression enough to know that he was the aforementioned kid. Walking over to the counter to collect their tray of prepared food. "Okay, Parker, be cool. It's just normal person. Just act how you would if you were eating Burger King with Mr. Stark or May," Peter thought to himself as he shuffled to the edge of his seat to take part of the food off the tray. "So what do you do?" Natasha asked, popping a few chips into her mouth. Peter raised an eyebrow, puzzled. "I don't have a job. I'm 15. He trailed off, remembering what Tony had said. Intern cover story. "But I'm actually a personal intern at Stark Industries," he replied proudly. "Really? A personal intern? Do you work for one of the main interns or an employee?" Natasha asked, in intrigue, impressed. "Oh yeah, I intern for Mr. Stark," he further explained, surprising himself at his strangely decent acting skills. It was very unlike him. Natasha's face changed in a way barely noticeable to anyone. Peter only spotted the way her lips slightly quirked up. "That's pretty impressive. He doesn't seem like the type of dude to hire 15-year-olds, she commented, taking a sip from her tall bottle of Fanta Zero. "Yeah, he was super scary at first," Peter agreed, smiling at the woman as he unwrapped his burger and took a dangerously large bite. "At first. Is he not scary now?" she asked in amusement, leaning forward as she rested her elbows on the table, folding up her chin on her fist. He isn't very scary after you walk in on him singing AC/DC. you know? He shrugged, biting back a desperate smile that gnawed at him. Natasha laughed, looking as if she was thinking back to a time that she may have done that. Pretty good singer, right? She joked, slurping as she got to the bottom of her drink. Ugh, I know. He's annoyingly good at literally everything. Peter scoffed, ignoring just how weird the situation was. Never in a million years would Peter have expected for the Black Widow to take him to Burger King, for a reason as small as spilling a coffee. It felt unreal. Why did you bring me here? I really appreciate it, but all you did was spill coffee on me, Peter questioned, a thought that having bugged him massively since the initial encounter. Natasha shrugged her shoulders, sitting back. You didn't hear this from me, but the Avengers are being pardoned, and I'm not sure. I've reconnected with family, which I guess gave me more perspective, but I didn't want to eat alone at a Burger King. It's nice to have company, she explained, the answer only making the situation feel crazier. Really? Peter insured, half expecting her to reveal that she was here to bring Spider-Man down. Really, she echoed, taking a moment to stare Peter up and down. You're a bit weird, you know, Natasha teased, eating her final few chips. Yeah, I hear that too often, he joked back in reply. Natasha smiled, the two of them bathing in the comforting silence, as the sun shone through the window, beams of light glistening through the window. Maybe I'll see you around, she suggested, a warm-ish smile on her face. Maybe, Peter repeated, before waving goodbye to the woman as they went their different ways. Peter once again burst into the lab. Okay, Mr. Stark, this is getting weird, he exclaimed, entering the lab. Tony spun around in his chair, spinning his whiteboard around as he did. On the whiteboard revealed all the names of the heroes in each corner of the board, with some sprinkled in the middle or edges. Okay, let's do this. I'm prepared, he announced, pointing to the work he had already done. Of course you are, Peter sighed, grinning as he walked over to explain what happened, which had shocked both he and Mr. Stark deeply. I want you to act like you don't know that they're going to be here, okay? Anyway, we'll give them the cover story, then make an excuse to leave and come back as Spidey a few minutes later. Mess with their heads a bit, Tony decided, happy with his plan. It couldn't hurt to play a prank on his teammates. It could help oil the tension. Great, they'll arrive tomorrow. That was Chapter 2 of Solve the Riddle While We Sit and Watch. Written by Gingers_ha. Read by The Viridian Ghost. Hope you guys enjoyed that. Again, if you have any fandoms you would like me to read from or any fanfics you would like me to read, just leave them in the comments and I'll do my best and see if any author is okay with that. Anyway, this is The Viridian Ghost signing off. See you guys next time.